Hello, everyone. Sufit here. I'm here today with Charles B. Ticker, estate mediator. And today, Charles is going to tell us, he's going to share with us, lawyers, the 5 things that you should never, ever, ever do in a mediation. Take it away, Charles. What's number one? What is the first thing that lawyers should never do in a mediation?
Well, the first thing is don't lose your cool. Never lose your cool. Look, these estate fights, and particularly these sibling estate fights, yes, they're very emotional. But remember, it's not your case. It's your client's case. It's your client's life. And as professionals, uh, you have to set the tone and set an example by your conduct. So keep your cool, hold the calm, and treat this as a business meeting. Yes, there's going to be emotions, and yes, your client is maybe going to get emotional, but as an advocate at the mediation, the lawyer must keep calm, keep his or her cool, and hopefully that rubs off on the client so that you could have a productive session. So sometimes as mediator, I got to sort of step in as referee and say, look, here's some ground rules. No yelling, no screaming, no names.
Do people
And
yell at, do people yell in mediations? Do lawyers yell in mediations?
Yes, and I was actually once involved in a mediation, not as a mediator, but as a counsel. And the mediator had to leave. It was like 6 o'clock, and the mediator, and I would never do this now as a mediator, but I was counsel. The mediator had to leave and said, "You're welcome to stay in my office as long as you want and let me know what happens. But I told you I had a hard stop at 6 and I'm out of here." After the mediator left, one of the lawyers and one of the litigants who was self-represented almost got into a fist fight.
What?
Unbelievable. So
Wow.
yes,
Okay.
it's rare. I've never seen that happen since or be again, but
Okay.
but I certainly emotions do run high, and sometimes it rubs off on the counsel, and they lose their cool. Yeah.
Okay, so number one, lawyers, don't lose your cool. Number two, what else should lawyers never ever do in a mediation?
Don't throw in the towel too early. Um, Typically mediations, when you start getting into the beginning of the negotiation process, typically the first offer or maybe the first couple offers are really, you know, not really serious offers. They're not showing much movement, and maybe people are trying to test the waters, but it's basically people are sort of very hesitant to commit to the process, so they put up these what I call stupid offers, and and sometimes what happens, people say, "Well, we're not going to settle. We're out of here." And I say, hold the phone. Oh, excuse me.
Hold the phone.
Uh, Oprah, I told you I'm in a call. Okay, I'll call you back. Yeah, she'll call me back. She's a good friend of mine. Anyway,
Good to
so
know. Good to
don't.
know.
I'm sorry. Should I continue?
So
So
of course. So throwing
so
in the towel too early.
don't throw in the towel too early. And that's what my job is, to keep the people in the building, so to speak, even though it might be virtual, and keep them talking. So that's number two.
Okay. Okay. Number two is throwing in the
Number th
towel too early.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Number three, don't drink your own Kool-Aid.
So what does that mean? What does that
Well,
mean?
as lawyers, obviously we're there to advocate our client's position, and but you got to remember, mediation's not court, so you're not there, to just argue and make the case and mediate, because I have no decision-making authority power anyway. So what happens is, sometimes the lawyers get so uh, closely bonded with their client's position that they can't see, the forest for the trees. So, one of the things we were trained to do as lawyers, and in law school, is that if you're going to be an effective advocate, you have to be able to argue both sides of the case and see both points of view. And that's what you have to do in mediation. You got to walk a mile in the other person's shoes. So don't drink the Kool-Aid and think that, your case is the end all be all.
Okay. So number one, losing your cool. Number two, throwing in the towel too early. Number three, drinking your own Kool-Aid. Charles, what is number four on the list of the 5 things lawyers should never ever do in a mediation?
Don't put a show on for your client. This is a mediation, and uh, I know lawyers sometimes, particularly if they have clients observing them in court, they want to show, they're aggressive. Clients have these images and these perceptions of what a lawyer should be like, from watching television dramas or films. I was doing the state litigation. Clients would come and say, are you a shark? I want a shark as a lawyer. And
I don't
I
want to
said,
push over. I want a shark.
and
Barracuda.
I said, are you like, a millionaire? Because sharks are very expensive, because sharks tend to keep on going and they don't stop. They keep on eating everything in sight, but you got to pay for that. So maybe you don't want a shark, and maybe you don't want me. So, so forget about putting a show on your client. Mediation is not court. Mediation is a totally different process. And to be successful, um, lawyers have to remember that they have a professional duty to encourage and promote settlement. And you can do that without showing weakness, because settlement's a good thing. What's wrong about settling and saving more legal fees and getting your life back? Why is that weak? Why is that a bad thing? That's a good thing. And what I always tell people in my opening remarks, I said, eventually, a judge is going to throw every obstacle in the way, in your way, to prevent you from going to trial. They're going to do everything in their power to make you settle. So you might as well try your best to settle today, because the odds are 95% plus of these cases are going to settle. So don't put a show on for the client. Help your client to engage in the process, to try and be a little more empathetic with their sibling or the other party, and promote the settlement. Yes, you don't want to give everything away, but you're not doing your client any favors by just putting on a show and being obstinate and getting in the way of the process towards
All right,
settlement.
that's a good one. Putting on a show for your client, number 4. And number 5, rounded out for us, Charles, the fifth thing, the fifth of the 5 things that lawyers should never ever do in a mediation. What is that?
Settle without settling. Like,
what does that mean?
I've seen this happen is sometimes these mediations will go into the late evening and people are tired, and they say, we'll draw up the minutes of settlement, or we'll draw up the agreement tomorrow. Everyone, good night. And no.
Yeah, because they're tired and they just want to get out of it.
Yeah, because what happens, you've spent like several hours negotiating, and sometimes the minutes of settlement themselves can take a few hours. Some lawyers are very good at sort of have a draft made even before the mediation. Those are the lawyers I like to work with, because they're already into the settlement process. But, there's going to be back and forth on the wording and stuff, and people get tired and say, you know what, we'll do it tomorrow. And then, you've heard of the term buyer's remorse. So people wake up the next morning and say, what the hell was I thinking? I changed my mind. I'm not signing. And now all that hard work has just gone, out the window, and you don't have an agreement. Or do you have an agreement? You're not sure. You're going to sue over whether or not you have an agreement. The other thing is, don't leave the building, or don't let your clients leave the building or the Zoom meeting, whatever, until you have confirmation that everybody has signed off on the minutes of settlement. I've seen this happen. Where people said, I signed, thank you, good night. And then the other side hasn't signed yet, and they thought about something else. It may be a minor point, like, who's going to get that China cup? I mean, it could be anything. But but it's irking them, and they won't sign until that's discussed. And now you can't find the other client. They turned off their cell phone. They've gone out to a bar to celebrate. I don't know where they are. And you don't have signed minutes of settlement. So nobody leave the room or the building until everybody has signed.
There you have it, folks. Charles B. Ticker on the 5 things lawyers should never ever do in a mediation. I'll just quickly reiterate them. Number 1, losing your cool. Number 2, throwing in the towel too early. Number 3, drinking your own Kool-Aid. Number 4, putting on a show for your client. And number 5, settling without settling. Charles, thank you very much.
My pleasure.